What's up, YouTube? ProTech here, back with another series of games for you today. I want to give a big shout out to Albert, Randolph, Ryan, Big Curdy, Sergeant Ratla, and William for the donations. I really appreciate it, guys. It keeps me going, keeps me making this content. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you guys enjoy the show. I'm glad you guys enjoy the content, etc. I'm gonna put a straw poll for the next couple of videos. I'm gonna put a straw poll in the description, and I'm also going to pin the link to the straw poll for you guys to just kind of gauge what you guys want to see. You know, I'm reading the comments, I'm getting the feedback, I'm seeing mixed opinions about what I should do with the videos. So just to get more of a concrete idea of what I should be doing with these, I have created a straw poll. It'll be a pinned comment in the comment section, and the link will be right there. So if you could just cast your vote so I can see what you guys want to see. So far, it's like 50-50. And if it's too close to 50-50, I'm just gonna do what I think is good and what I think is best. But if it's like a landslide vote, then obviously I'll go towards that direction. For now, the next couple videos are gonna be an hour or more. And yeah, so without further ado, let's get into the matches. Alright, boys, game number 1 of the video today. What do we got here? We got a Terran random versus a random Protoss on the efflorescence.
광물이 부족합니다.
건설로봇 준비 완료.
광물이 부족합니다. 광물이 부족합니다.
갑니다. 건설로봇 준비 완료.
광물이 부족합니다.
I think what I'm going to do this game,
보급고가 부족합니다.
I think I'm gonna mech.
광물이 부족합니다. 광물이 부족합니다.
Generally speaking, when you have a Protoss teammate, you kind of want to open with something that can help with the ground army, like the early ground army. You can do this through Reapers, but you can also do this through Hellions.
건설로봇 준비 완료.
You know, again, Protoss, and this guy is going Nexus first. You don't want a Nexus first if you know you're fighting a Terran.
건설로봇 준비 완료. 뭔일 있으네?
And he's going into a Forge.
안 좋은 일인가요?
So far that build is pretty awful.
안 좋은 건설로봇 준비 완료.
Honestly, I should have gone through Rex Reapers. But, you know, there's no way to really know if that's the kind of open we're going to see here.
무슨 일?
광물이 부족합니다.
I can still kind of sort of make this work. I was going to go Hellion Starport, but now that he has, you know, he's open
광물이 부족합니다.
very awkwardly, I think I'm actually going to have to go to Factory
업그레이드 완료.
to make it out of the early game.
우방지. 저승사자가
광물이 부족합니다. 동맹 기지가 공격받고 광물이 부족합니다.
건설로봇 준비 완료.
광물이 부족합니다.
I could go kill the SCV, but like the moment I leave, I'll probably have to deal with the Reaper jumping up into my base.
건설로봇 준비 완료. 계속하세요.
동맹 기지가 공격받고 있습니다.
There's the Reaper.
동맹이 공격받고 있습니다. 보급고가 부족합니다.
Okay, I got the first shot, which means I win that fight auto.
부속 건물 완성. 광물이
건설로봇 준비 완료.
Which means he just has to run away.
중요한 일인가?
So the problem here is that he got the scout off,
건설로봇 준비.
so now he knows it's 2 factory. Or I should say they know it's factory.
쓸어버리겠어. 건설로봇 준비 완료. 네.
사령부 업그레이드
And I
완료.
still don't know what the race is
건설로봇 준비
because
완료.
the Reaper Scout was
괜찮군. 다 쓸어버리겠어.
from the player who actually picked it.
건설로봇 준비 완료.
So I think I'm gonna rush to an engineering bay here because I just don't have any scouting information. I'll try to get a scout off with my barracks.
여긴 못 지켰는데요. 중요한 일인.
But the weakness to opening with the Hellion Cyclone is
건설로봇 준비 완료.
like a fast siege tank. Okay, so this actually turns out to be okay because he did get served. Now I just gotta worry about like a Cloak Banshee.
에너지가 부족합니다.
And the Zerg player is spawned here, so instead of actually going into scout, I'm just gonna block his third base with my factory.
기지가 공격받고
건설로봇
있습니다.
준비 완료.
Or not. Crap.
무슨 일이죠? 누굴 찾? 건설로봇 준비.
광물이 부족합니다.
Might be able to kill his marines because he could, like, with a marine count like that, he's probably going for
건설로봇 준비 완료. 조준력 가동.
picking off those marines is good because he's probably going for like some kind of a drop play,
준비
right?
완료. 헤이, 깜짝 건설로봇 준비 완료.
Alright, so we've definitely got some issues in the teammate department. Like, if you're gonna open the way he opened, you should probably go
준비 완료.
for airplay,
에너지가
다 쓸어버리겠어. 건설로봇 준비 완료.
because unless you
기지가
play
공격받고 있습니다.
gateway right,
건설로봇 준비 완료.
보급고가 부족합니다.
건설로봇 준비 완료.
gateway kind of starts to fall off in the mid game.
헤이, 깜짝이야.
So it looks as if the Zerg player has gone for something like
여기는
Nidus network play.
무슨 일이죠? 다 쓸어버리겠어.
Or it could be Mutalisk.
에너지가 부족합니다.
네, 후방 지원 대기 중.
Crap, I got supply cap pretty heavily here.
건설로봇 준비 완료. 목표물은 정. 여기는 쌀.
Actually can be the end of the world because I kind of need to have cyclones in case of Muta.
헤이, 깜짝이야. 뭔 일 있어요? 건설로봇 준비 완료.
And I'm not really confident in this teammate, so I'm actually going to build a planetary at my third base down here.
계속하세요. 무슨 일? 조준력 가동. 사냥을 시작하시죠.
부속 건물 완성.
건설로봇 준비 완료.
We're going to start the
에너지가 부족합니다. 광물이 부족합니다.
출동입니다.
siege tank position. Okay, so he did go
동맹
Muta.
기지가 공격받고 있습니다.
건설로봇 준비 완료.
동맹 기지가 공격받고 있습니다. 부속 건물 완성.
다 쓸어버리겠어.
사령부 업그레이드 완료.
잘못 들었습니다. 건설로봇 준비 완료.
And his Mutalisk play amounted to nothing, so that's good. His third base isn't really saturated, so I have a lead
후방
there.
지원 대기. 잘못 들었습니다.
And I think we should push. I think we can make a push here.
듣고 있습니다. 왜 붙었어? 다 쓸어. 건설로봇 준비 완료.
광맥이 고갈되었습니다.
일대장님. 연료 채웠습니다. 준비 완료. 건설로봇 준비 완료.
Kind of strange decision to stay on Mutas. Now he's gone for Swarm Host. Weird.
동맹이 공격받고
다
있습니다.
쓸어버리겠어.
업그레이드 완료.
건설로봇 준비 완료.
Corruptor Swarm Host? I'm not really sure what that's about.
건설 로봇이 공격받고 있습니다.
깜짝이야. 준비 끝났습니다. 여기 점점 더 달아오르는데요. 다 쓸어버리겠어.
동맹이 공격받고 있습니다. 연구 완료.
Let's get our tanks up here so we don't have to rely on that Hellion.
연료 채웠습니다. 준비 완료. 네. 아, 정말 미치겠네.
동맹이 공격받고 있습니다.
다 쓸어버리겠어. 에이, 깜짝이야. 무슨 일? 뭐? 아, 정말 미치겠네. 진짜 망했다. 준비. 건설로봇 준비 완료.
에너지가 부족합니다. 동맹이 공격받고 있습니다.
I think for 2v2, to be honest, I think the SCV count that you should strive for is
다 쓸어버리겠어.
65.
건설로봇 준비 완료.
That's generally where I'd want to keep it.
계속하세요.
It kind of depends on what comp you're going. Like, for instance, if you're going for like a comp like this, 65 is okay, but if you're doing something like Battle Cruiser or something that's really mineral / gas intensive, I'd say more like 70 to 80 is what you need.
업그레이드 완료.
다 쓸어버리겠어.
Who's still in the game here?
잘못
Surge
들었습니다.
player.
광맥이 고갈되었습니다. 사령부 업그레이드
I guess I
완료.
should start scanning for ninjas,
동맹이 공격받고 있습니다.
끝났습니다.
because I don't know what other reason he would still be in the game for. So yeah, this was definitely a strange game. My teammate opened with Pylon. Let me just take a look at his build order. So he opened Pylon, Nexus, Forge, Pylon, Pylon, Cannon, 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 Pylon, Cannon, Gateway, finally at 3 minutes, Cannon. Took 4 gases all at the same time. Another Photon Cannon. His Cybernetics core doesn't go up till 4 minutes. I mean, that is just... This, with this kind of a build, here's the basic understanding of Protoss. Protoss gateway units fall off after about, I'd say, 6-7 minutes. It depends on the comp you're going, but the point is that if you haven't snowballed those gateway units up until 4 minutes, it's generally not going to be very good. So if you're doing a build like this, yeah, sure, maybe I can carry you, and if that's the case, then you're going to want to go Stargate. You don't want to go for gateway units. It just comes out way too late. I mean, look at this. His supply is 44 out of 102 before the 5-minute mark. Like 62 supply here, 68 at the 5-minute mark, 78 at the 5-minute mark. So he's definitely oversupplied there. So in other words, it's a pretty efficient build. I wouldn't recommend that. But yeah, it's going to conclude game number 1 of the series. Boys. My man, Lambardia. Thank you for the $5 donation, dude. And I actually hadn't realized that a lot of you guys are putting messages with your donations, so I'm actually going to start reading them. So this is the $5 tip from Lombardia. This is Villoresi on Twitch. Just discovered after days that I didn't see your channel on. Hope Twitch will remove the ban soon. Best of luck, bro. I got banned about 30 days ago. Or, excuse me, 30 days ago. About a year ago. And they didn't lift it. So they're not going to lift it this time. There's no point in appealing it. What I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to get the information about why I got banned so that, you know, I can take appropriate action going forward. Let's see. The next one here is from William. And it says, 30-day ban is bleak, bro. Also, loving the learn to play content. The learn to play RT vids. Keep them coming. Cheers. Cowzor. Thanks, buddy. Really appreciate that. I'm glad you enjoy the content, and yeah, I'll definitely keep it going. Let's see. The $100 donation from Big Curdy. He says, what's funny is, I do feel like your chat has been way less cancerous lately. Sorry about the BS ban, buddy. Keep doing your thing. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, right? What are you gonna do? You could do 99.9% of the things that you do could be right, but the 1% that you're wrong has detrimental effects. But yeah, man, thank you so much for the tip. Really appreciate it. Let's see. Albert, I'm not going to read your message, but thank you. And yeah, so sorry about that. I didn't realize that you guys were actually sending me messages with those, so thank you all. Really appreciate it. Alright, boys, welcome to the next game of the series today. We got a ZP versus ZR on the Emerald City.
광물이 부족합니다. 광물이 부족합니다.
I'm trying to remember if I've actually played a game with this guy before. I'm not sure. I believe I have.
광물이 부족합니다.
So I think what I'm gonna be going for here is actually just bio. I haven't really done a whole lot of bio games on stream yet, so I'd kind of like to do that.
광물이 부족합니다.
This is one of the matchups where you can do it.
보급고가 부족합니다.
It's not always ideal for openers because your infantry count is generally pretty low with
광물이
this,
부족합니다. 광물이
but
부족합니다.
it can be good. So let's give it a whirl. I guess he's going pool before gas. I'm not really. Oh, that's not good. See, the problem is with the build I'm going is that you're kind of weak in the early game, and he's going to be even weaker because of whatever the hell he's doing.
광물이 부족합니다.
So, okay, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually change the opener a little bit here.
사령부 광물이 부족합니다.
I feel like I'm going to need some Hellions.
베스핀 가스가 부족합니다. 광물이 부족합니다.
For like a Zergling play.
광물이 부족합니다.
So I'm still gonna go bio, but I'm gonna open with factory play.
건설로봇 준비
I'm gonna
완료.
immediately transition into bio after about 4 Hellions.
건설로봇 준비
보급고가 부족.
Oops, I messed that up there.
부속 건물 완성.
하늘에 누구? 건설로봇 준비 완료.
Alright, so we actually have no pressure
하늘
for that gold base, which is really bad. You don't just want to give up
완료. 누굴
gold base for free,
마 왜?
which I think is what's going to happen here.
하늘에
동맹 기지가 공격받고 있습니다.
건설로봇 준비 완료. 전성력으로 태양보다 뜨거.
So we're gonna get 4 Hellions.
사령부 업그레이드 완료.
건설로봇 준비 완료. 에이, 깜짝이야.
And we are going to start going bio.
준비. 아. 준비되셨죠? 건설로봇 준비 완료.
Not gonna be able to do any damage there.
에이, 건설로봇 준비 완료. 도발 좋은 일인가요? 무슨 일이죠?
광물이 부족합니다.
건설로봇 준비 완료.
Cannot lose these Hellions because my teammate still has no Zergling speed.
에너지가 부족합니다.
건설로봇 준비 완료. 에이, 깜짝이야. 계속하세요. 불 붙었어.
부속 건물
건설로봇 준비 완료.
Okay. Bio transition is underway.
있어요? 말씀하시죠, 대장. 건설로봇 준비 갑니다. 계속하세요. 자,
연구 완료. 부속 건물 완성.
빨리.
광물이 부족합니다.
건설로봇 준비 완료.
Protoss is massing Phoenixes.
한판 붙어볼까요, 송이?
So we're gonna go bio mine. We're gonna try to pressure that gold base.
구성 준비 완료.
Hopefully my teammate listens.
자, 건설로봇 준비 완료. 출동 준비 완료. 이번엔 갑니다. 간다. 후방 지원 대기 중. 이거 정말 미치겠다.
부속 건물 완성.
건설로봇 준비 완료.
구성 준비 완료.
연구 완료.
여기 지원이 필요하다. 건설로봇 준비 완료.
Okay, that was actually pretty good. Did a lot of damage there.
동맹이 공격받고 있습니다.
기다리고 있었습니다.
Good stuff, good stuff. So I feel pretty confident here I'll be able to take a third.
이번엔 확실하게. 후방
구성 준비 완료.
동맹이 공격받고 있습니다. 동맹이 공격받고 있습니다. 광물이 부족합니다. 광물이 부족합니다. 업그레이드 완료. 광물이 부족. 에너지가 부족. 광물이 부족합니다. 광물이
Wow,
부족합니다.
teammates actually doing a really good job.
출동 준비 완료.
동맹이 공격받고 있습니다.
무슨 일이죠? 기다렸습니다.
구성 준비 완료.
I didn't push with him because I didn't really think he would be doing this much
보급고가
damage.
부족합니다.
갑니다.
동맹이
여긴 못
공격받고 있습니다.
지켰는데요. 건설로봇 준비 완료.
부속 건물 완성. 에너지가 부족합니다. 동맹이 공격받고 있습니다.
구성 준비 완료.
There we go. So yeah, Teammates Open was definitely kind of scary. I didn't really think that I would be able to win that game with that kind of an open. But as it turns out, the alteration to the build that I made was actually really good, because the reason I decided to make that alteration was because his Overlord scouted the gold base, right? He went over the gold base, we saw it, we knew it was there. And typically what you'll see is when a Zerg player takes an aggressive base like that, there are two things going through his mind. One, I need to protect my gold income because it's going to be hard for me to defend based off of where my main hatchery has spawned. And the second thing is that if they're not choosing to go into a macro-centric type of play, is I'm going to use this structure's placement position to my advantage to reinforce an attack, right? So those are the two things that are going through their mind. So making the alteration to the build that I did was smart because he went for speedlings, right? He went for a lot of speedlings to take advantage of the fact that he had a closer, like his hatchery was closer to our bases to make a push. So had the Zerg player been playing standard and there was no gold base there, I probably just would have opted for 3 racks into the starport instead of going for Hellions and delaying my marine count. Because that build's a little more solid, it transitions better. You know, you can get the engineering base faster, you can get the upgrades faster, stuff like that. And it's just overall, I just feel like it's more efficient against PZ, just based off of the games that I've played. But yeah, good victory, good win. Let's move on to the next game, shall we? All right, boys, we got next game of the series today. We got a PZ versus a RR. Alright, so one of the things I'm going to note for everybody here is that when you queue up for a random 2v2 team, if you see names like Peter or John or Steve or Mike or Dan, or if it's a name like this, you have a low rank teammate. It's not always the case, but like 99% of the time that is the case. So that's the first thing that's going through my mind here. And I'm actually going to try to end this game early. So I'm going to take a hatch at 17. I'm going to drone up to 18. Gonna gas at 18. And then I'm gonna pool at 17. From there, I'm gonna drone up to 19. Gonna saturate my gas. I'm gonna build an overlord at 19. Now, when the gas count gets to 88, the drone that is taking the trip on the 88 gas count, you're gonna start maynarding the workers to your net. So, this drone right here. Send them down there, get the Zergling speed, get the double queen. You don't have to wait to build the queen at the same time, but I like to because it just makes it easier for me to inject when I'm microing if the energies are all the same. So I can see an overlord there, so instead of rallying out, I'm actually going to try to hide these the best I can. Because I don't want this to get spotted. Gonna build 2 overlords. I'm supposed to build 2 overlords at 31, but I kind of messed up there. And I'm gonna try to kill that overlord that's should be like right here. Okay, so there's no overlord there, and it looks like that overlord is poking over to my teammate's base. So I should be okay to not have to hide these anymore. Two drones on the natural. There's the overlord that's spotting. I'm going to try to skirt the vision. I can see the vision range of my overlord. And now we're just going to go for the attack. So he went third base. Try to kill as many workers here that I can. And army. I gotta chase those lings because he has a baneling nest. Can't get up from there. I'm gonna target the main nest here. So from this point forward, because I've done so much damage, I'm gonna build a spine crawler. Oops, I didn't see that. Fuck. A spine crawler and a spore in my mains, in my net, because that's gonna cover both DT and any kind of airplay, right? All right, so let's just go over the open for my teammate and find out if my theory is correct and if I made the right choice, right? 2 idle probes, 3 idle probes, saturating with minerals in his hand, idle workers left and right, second gateway. So we can clearly see that the mechanics going on here isn't the greatest. His build isn't necessarily terrible. The mechanical skill that we see, it's not the greatest, right? Like, I mean, any good player knows that having a worker idle makes no sense. So it's actually kind of nice that he sent this zealot across the map because he got a scout off and I could actually see like what the drone count was. And that when you can see the drone count, it gives you a pretty good determination on whether or not it kind of rules things out. Like if he has a low drone count, he's going to have units. If he has a low drone count, sometimes that means he'll have a third. I think one of the mistakes I made here was not putting my overlord at the third base to check for it. And so I see the third base here, and instead of actually going for it, I decided to go into the main because we can see he's got a bane nest, right? And this is the reason why I went into the base versus killing the third. Because once this attack gets scouted, it becomes a lot more complicated if he does have a bane nest, right? Roaches, not so much of a big deal, but the baneling nest is the one you gotta be worried about, right? So I saw 2 drones at the natural, I see a quick third base, I can rule out a high army value, but what I can't rule out is the hard counter to my units, which is the baneling nest, right? So this is why I chose to, instead of harassing the natural or harassing the third, is to go into the main. On top of this, when you do this, you pull the Protoss units out of position. And when this is an early attack like this, the gateway units are typically going to be like maybe anywhere from 1 to 4, depending on the open, right? And so with this attack, I know that if I go into the Zerg main, I can also kill Protoss units, right? Because he has to leave his base, and in the early stages of the game, he needs to have a wall in to deflect a play like what I did here, right? So my teammate never actually gets Warp Gate. So while his open was actually okay, the transition and the things that he's doing here is not very good, right? It's pretty bad. Like, you, especially nowadays, you always want to get Warp Gate and stuff like that. So again, my theory about seeing usernames like Peter or Dan or Steve, Mike, you know, whatever, Cindy, Sandy, whatever, generally means they're pretty low. And this is why I decided to go for this all-in play, because it's the best chance that I feel to win when you have usernames like this on your team. But anyway, moving on to the next game, boys. All right, boys, we got the next game of the series today. Two Terran versus Random. And I'm not buying the whole Silver League thing going on in that guy's profile. A lot of times what you'll see with usernames is you'll see like a silver 1v1 border, but then, you know, you'll look at the actual username, and you start to kind of pick up on whether you're playing Smurfs or not. So I think I'm playing a Smurf, which means I'm not going to do anything crazy. I'm just going to play a standard game. So against double Terran, in my opinion, the best open is Gate Expand. And using Chrono Boost on your gateway to keep yourself safe from the early Reapers. So Nexus at 19. Cybernetics core at 19. And second gas at 19. Saturate your gas. Second pylon at 19. And then proceed with your pro production. Now, you'll see 1v1 Protoss players not do it like this, but I have found that the timing for the gas and the units and everything else, it works out really well. Because you gotta think, you're playing against 2 potential Reapers, not just 1, right? And then I get the core, not the core, excuse me, the Twilight Council after the second Stalker. Send this bad boy across the map to limit the area in which Reapers have to work with. Kind of mess that up there. So if you put your Stalkers here and you haven't encountered any Reapers, then you have the map control. And you know you're not going to get harassed by any Reapers. Plus you can also block out potential SCV scouts and things of that nature. Now because I'm not going to scout here, instead of getting blink first, I'm going to throw down the gateways and then get blink. And then now I'm going to save up resources for robotics in case of Banshee play. Or Widow Mine Drop play. So at about 4 minutes, I'm going to take my Stalkers that are in the middle of the map, and I'm going to send them back to my main, because a Widow Mine Drop will usually come at about 4:15 to 5 minutes. So I'm going to start moving back now. And I'm going to start warping units into my mineral line. I'm also going to build shield batteries here, because shield batteries are really good against banshees. And here I'm going to take a third base. And then build 2 obs, 1 for scouting, 1 to keep in my main in case of banshee play. Got a little supply cap there, not good. A little bit oversaturated here, so we'll take our gases. And we're getting pretty close to fully saturated here, so I'm going to get forges. Siege tank. Okay, so we got battle cruiser. The answer to battle cruiser this early is blank stalker. We gotta find out what this guy is going. Both are going BCs. That's interesting. So what I'm gonna do here is that I know that it takes a while for battle cruisers to actually get out. So I'm actually going to take a quick fourth, and I'm going to start pressuring potential base over here. And then I'm going to start going into Mass Tempest. Sobs to get up here. Then we're gonna take this and go down this way and try to get into the main there. There's no third base. And I'm not really sure if I should do this. That one battle cruiser really complicates things. Okay. We're doing good. Now we're going to start going into Tempest with upgrades. Can't do any more damage with that, so we're going to get out of there. Got an Archosis file in here. I want to make sure you handle that situation. Alright, so we have a ton of BCs going to be created in this game. Just wait for the fleet beacon here. Go back over here and try to harass if he tried to take a third base here. Fleet beacon is done. Let's start getting Tempest. Still has no third. If we keep the left side Terran off of a third for a while longer, we'll be at a big advantage. Which we are doing successfully, I would say. Having that observer there is really, really big, actually. Start setting up some kind of defense there. Plus we need the supply. Need to get 2-2. Alright, so we're starting to run out of minerals on our bases here. Let's get all this over to our third or our fifth base. So we got the base there, but that's not really that big of a deal. We have an observer in a really good position there. We can just start attacking. Frankly, probably just a move here. And there it is. So you have a couple of options when you play against Turtle Terran. You can either try to break the front, or you can go for the longer game. When they turtle like that, they don't, generally speaking, they don't have much of an aggressive option. So taking additional bases and then going up to like tier 3 tech is generally how you would want to play against Turtle Terran, who are going BCs and tanks and stuff like that. And Tempests are really good because they outrange the shit out of BCs, and if you have enough of them, you can one-shot them, like even before they get close enough to Yamato. Moving on to the next game, boys. Alright, boys, we got the next game for you here. Let's see what we got. We got Protoss Random versus Random Protoss. So we got a barcode here. He's random. You don't know who he is. You don't know what he's gonna do. First thing I think of is Cannon Rush with a Zerg teammate, because the Overlord can fly across the map and spot the high ground for a Cannon Rush. So that's what I'm assuming will happen here. And I wouldn't be fooled by this guy's Platinum border. I've actually played quite a few games with this guy, and he's not that bad. My teammate, on the other hand, never seen him. No idea what to expect here. But his name is X Firemaster X. So I can't see that being a good thing. Plus, he's the last to load here. So, you know, I've said multiple times throughout a lot of these games that when you have usernames such as this, it just typically means they're not very good. Not very original, not very good, right? And they oftentimes have the potato computers and potato internet connections and stuff like that. So I am expecting a forge, like a fast cannon rush with Zergling support. So I'm not going to be going 15 hatchery here. I'm actually going to be going the build that... This build doesn't stop cannon rushes, but it's versatile if it's a standard game, right? 14 gas, 14. I can expand from this. I can go for a Baneling Nest with this. And I actually think I'm going to go for the Baneling Nest because I'm looking at the mini-map and I can see that my teammate's not really doing a build that makes any sense. So I'm gonna try to end the game early. Get the extractor. If you do the extractor trick here, you basically get larva at the same time. And by the time the pool finishes, you have 3 larvae to use, so it's basically just a free drone. Just kind of how the timing works out with that. Now, when I do this build, I never go... See, there's the forge, right? Just like I was expecting. So on this map, forges are kind of tricky because this map is actually really stupid. This area right here can be walled in with 2 pylons. Because the map was made by Blizzard, and guess what? Blizzard didn't take that into account. So obviously we can't do anything there, so we're gonna see if he has a, Zerg player has a natural. If he has a natural, we're gonna go after it. We don't care about the probe because we're not actually taking a base. We're gonna cancel this, and then we're going to wait for our baneling nest, and then attack Zerg. So we have the Bane nest, we're going to go down here, we're going to start warping in Banes. And we're going to target the Spine Crawler. And you want to make sure that when you morph Banes, you always do the Zerglings with low HP. Because they get all their HP back when they come out of the shell. We're going after the Spine Crawler here. And then we're going after the drones. Not the best of trades, but it did the job. Alright, so let's return to game here. Let's take a look at where our teammate's at. We can clearly see that, you know, this time of the game he doesn't really have anything. And if we were watching the mini-map at the start of the game, we could see that he opened with a gas, and typically when Protoss players go gas after the pylon, they're not very good, right? So again, just being able to look at the minimap and see whether or not your teammate is doing a standard play, you can get victories like this by just making sure that whoever it is you're playing with is actually doing something that makes sense. Because you don't want to find yourself in a macro scenario with a teammate like this, right? Like, sure, he's got the gates, sure, he's got the full saturation, but he's had a probe here that's been there probably the whole game. He had 2 stalkers. You know, it's just realistically going into like the later stages of the game, it's just not a very good idea, right? And you can tell, you can make this choice, you can make this decision very early on in the game by just using your peripheral visions and looking at the minimap and looking at what the order of buildings that he's putting down, right? And so this is one of the things that you have to learn as a random 2v2 player if you want to succeed, if you want to be in the higher tiers. Because games like this, if you macro, you're oftentimes just going to lose, right? So you need to formulate a strategy that will give you the victory if you have a bad teammate, right? All right, my dudes, we got the next game here. We got a Terran Random versus Protoss Progos. So here, there's about a 66.6% chance that you don't need to wall. So I'm going to take that chance this game. Don't feel like walling. And the reason I say 66.6% is because you don't need to wall against Terran, and you don't need to wall against Protoss, right? So it's Terran random. That means that that random player is either going to get Protoss or he's going to get Terran. However, what I am going to do is I'm going to open 2 gate, because if it's 2 Terran, oftentimes you will see a lot of Reapers early on. And if it's 2 Protoss, or if it's Protoss Terran, oftentimes you will see 2-gate open with Reapers or, you know, whatever. So this build, to me, based off of everything that has happened, in the load screen, my thought process, etc., seems to me that it makes the most sense to open 2-gate. We're going to get up our cyberport here, saturate our gases, and I think what I'm going to do is... My teammate seems to be opening the same build. Not sure if I should just go for a heavy blink or if I should go for Oracle. I think what I want to do this game is I want to go for a blink open. Which, that's what I'm going to do. So the way I do this is I go up to 4 Stalkers, and then I make the Twilight Council. I make the 4 Stalkers, and then I get the Pylon. And then I just kind of hang out here for a little bit, wait for a Reaper. Have seen no Reaper at all, so once I get 4 Stalkers, I'll start walking across the map, see if I can scout anything. Okay, so that's a very strange open, not sure about that. Okay, we gotta run away here, it's not gonna work. So I'm actually gonna build 2 batteries here. And I need to get a robo because of that Hellion. Teammate has a robo, but I'm not really going to rely on that. So I ended up losing about 4 workers there. It's actually pretty good, considering that that was a 1-base play. Let's see. He has an obs, actually. Maybe I shouldn't have got the robo. Taking any losses there, but that Liberator really keeps you back. And I don't have an expansion yet. Alright, I need to push. This feels like the right timing for their additional bases and stuff like that. So, the issue here is that my teammate, he never actually sent his obs across the map, and so we weren't able to see the expansion timing. So, you know, I just kind of more or less assumed that there was going to be a base there already. Try to do as much damage to his worker line as I can here. Alright, not too bad, not too bad. My teammate is still doing a lot of work on the left side, so that's good. Better take out the got the salvage. Looks like he did a lot of work there. The problem is that he actually didn't macro very well. And I'm supply capped. So we did deny the left side Terran expansion. Didn't really do a lot of damage to the right side Terran, but I think he's actually meching. So I don't think we'll get pushed anytime soon. Need to get an obs of my own so I don't have to rely on my teammates. I'm not actually sure what I should do here. I think the composition is gonna have to be Zealot, Immortal, like Blink Stalker or something. That's a lot of bio. TVP on this map is actually really hard because a lot of the early game aggression that Terran can do is a lot more powerful than it normally would be. Map terrain, you know, stuff like that. And I'm gonna take a third here. I'm not sure if that's the right choice, but that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try to blink into his main. This is just kind of tactics to keep them on their side of the map while I build up an economy. I'm actually really surprised that my teammate was able to help me out there. So now I'm really loving this third base. So I'm definitely in a really bad spot. But my teammate hasn't really taken too much damage. I've kind of been at the butt end of the damage, right? So we kind of here we just have to rely on our teammate to be able to hold the next push. Definitely need to make sure we have an obs here. Need to start building more stalkers in case of drop play. And I need production now that my third base is starting to kick in a little bit. I feel like I need Psystorm. It's playing really defensive. Still not pushing. See if he has defenses set up here or not. The defenses. The pressure I'm applying is just kind of like, you know, to make him think that I'm doing something. But it's just to make him second guess like any kind of a push, right? That's the idea here. I'm gonna start putting some immortals in my comp too. And I'm not going to be able to hold that. Nice. Good teammate. Got some good storms going on. GG. So that was actually kind of a scary game. I'm not really sure why we saw that open. The opens definitely were very strange. So we had 2 Racks Marauder, and then we had Reactor Hellions or something with, you know, like a Hellion Reaper. So with a 2-gate open, and see, this is part of the reason why you want to open 2-gate. If it's like Terran Random, Terran Protoss, Terran, because there's a lot of gimmicky plays that they can do that you would otherwise not be able to be prepared for. Now the problem is that on this map, when you scout, you only get to get into one Terran's base, and the reason for this is because on this map there's a supply depot and a barracks, and that's what walls you in, right? So you can't go into the base and actually scout. It's balanced. The way the game is balanced is that you need 2 depots to cover the wall so that the scout can't get in, right? But usually by that time, you're able to get in and scout. But on this map, it's just a depot and a racks. That's it. So this is part of the reason why you should realistically almost always open 2-gate on a map like this, because you can't get in there and scout a Terran player, right? So if I had gone like 1-gate expand, that build that they did would have flat out killed me, right? And of course they committed to my side of the map because that's the shortest distance between their base and my base. They're not going to commit to the left side. That doesn't make any sense. So I kind of made a mistake. Typically you don't want to 1-base Stalker against Terran because the DPS is too high before you actually get to your critical mass of Stalkers, right? So if they do plays like this, you're just going to lose Stalkers and Stalkers and Stalkers, and it's just not going to be worth it, right? So I think what I should have done is I should have opened with either Robo or Stargate. I think Stargate would have been okay there because then I could have used the Oracles to wipe out the Hellions and the Reapers because the Oracles do extra damage to light. And I think if I had done that, that would have been, the game would have been a little more smooth sailing, transitions would have been easier. Plus, I would have had a Stargate to deal with Liberator a little more efficiently, and yeah. So I think those were the mistakes I made. But again, you know, I was playing against random Terran. I didn't know what his race was. Scouting oftentimes on this map is not really worth it because you can't actually get much information. So other than that, Again, I would say this was a game carried by my teammate. I didn't really have much to do with the victory, aside from just kind of keep them back in their base to question or second guess whether or not they should push, which I think ultimately bought enough time for my teammate who didn't really take much damage. And yeah, so just being proactive with the units and you know, stuff like that. All right, boys, we got the next game for you. We got 2 Protoss versus Protoss Zerg. Now, I am an advocate for 100% of the time opening with 2 gate against 2 Protoss. And the reason for this is because if you've got 4 adepts inside of your base, you need to have something that's going to clear that up, right? A lot of times what you'll see 2 Protoss players do is you'll see this heavy adept open, but then they'll follow it up. Like, they'll do something like, you know, go 2 gates, skip the warp gate, and then throw down like a, Stargate for a quick Oracle, right? And so, you know, you have to think like, alright, I've got 2 Protoss players from a single Protoss perspective. It can be kind of difficult to, make sure you're prepared for all of that. Now, you'll see he's scouting, right? When you get scouted like this, you don't want your gases to get stolen. It's very, very important that your gases don't get stolen. So that can be kind of annoying. I actually didn't see if it was just one Protoss player doing that or not. So the issue that you run into here when they fail cannon rushes, like on a map like this, for example, is they can wall this area right here, and getting up and doing like damage into their base. You have to identify it, but then you have to go around. So you have to make a choice. Are you gonna go straight up the ramp, or are you gonna go around? Right? For me, my choice is to go up the ramp. Try to put on the pressure the best I can here. If they fail cannon rushes like that, you can generally apply some pressure. Actually, too much if I don't recall there. Okay, so now what you have to worry about is air and Dark Templar plays. So I'm gonna get a Twilight Council and a Robo. Making sure I macro workers behind this. And like here, I don't actually know what they're going, so I need to make sure I have Oracle defense inside of my base. That's a really bad attack on my teammate's party, shouldn't be doing that. And I think this guy's core just now finished, so he's probably throwing down a bunch of Stargates right now. And here I'm just kind of trying to make him build more defense and delay his... what I think would be an inevitable air transition. So I don't really get the idea that they're going to be able to aggress anytime soon, so I'm actually just going to take a third. And I believe we're going to see... I believe we're going to see airplay, so I'm going to go Blink Stalker with Forges. I already have the Observer in case of DT, so we're good there. But I'm just going to macro really heavily and try to get an economic lead and go... Blink Stalker. Probably gonna be Blink Stalker Archon, because I'd say about 90% of the time your opponent is gonna transition into like carrier stuff. Alright, he is going air. So we're gonna start throwing in some Archons. I might actually even get Storm if he's gonna be messing Void Ray. He did have Dark Templars in his first attack, so I'm going to put up some cannons in my mineral line, so that gives me... I don't really know how I feel about this. I don't know if I should go Storm, and I think I'm not going to, because I think he's going to go... I believe he's going to go into carrier. So now I have a pretty decent army. We're going to travel across the map and just look for extra bases. Put a cannon here and a cannon there. I want to check the gold. So there's no gold base. We're going to get up to 70 workers. That's all we're going to make. Yeah, so there's the also, I need to build another one. So my composition here is going to be Blink Stalker Archon. And I'm just gonna kind of go around and break the rocks, so it gives me extra attack paths to play around with. The key is just to make sure that you keep them off additional bases when you're playing mobile style, which I'm not sure we'll be able to do. There's quite a bit of defense here. So you can see when the opponent's on lower economy, if you go for this comp, the Archons kill all the interceptors pretty fast, especially if you have good upgrades. No recall there, because we just took that base out. And he's got one loose. So that's a bit of a problem. Still on 70 workers, so that's good. Gas income is actually really good. I actually end up losing this game. My teammate doesn't have any upgrades. I'm not really sure if I actually took that engagement right or not. Fucker has DTs again. Alright. Still not a very good situation to be in, to be honest. I did reset the armies at the cost of resetting my army, and the problem here, I would say, is this teammate has, well, set up here. He's got 1-1 at 12 minutes into the game. I'll have 3-3 momentarily. That's definitely an issue. So again, I'm just going to try to keep him off another base. Check around. Like, I have to assume that he's just going to keep making carriers, and I need to have the counter to the carriers. So I can't really worry about the other Protoss going Disruptor and shit. Go back this way and check for the base that he was trying to take earlier. There's no base there. Let's check this base here. There's no base. Oh, there's a base.
수정탑이 공격받고 있습니다. 수정탑이 공격받고 있습니다. 광물이 더 필요합니다. 여기 어둠 속에 있다.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So yeah, that was, I don't feel as if this game was worth 0 MMR. I think the opponents were both well worth decent MMR. But, you know, they're probably a pre-made. No, actually, they're not a pre-made. That's interesting. I should have definitely got points for this. I don't know why I didn't. Both of those players, while not necessarily awesome, they were definitely decent enough to make that a game that I really had to work for, right? So the composition that you go against what they were making, it depends on how the game has evolved, right? If you're behind, the best thing for you to do is to go Tempest and just one-shot the carriers, right? But if you're ahead in economy, you can use mobility to deny additional bases, get better upgrades, and actually be able to take the skirmishes, right? There was no point in that game where I felt like I was going to lose the game or take a bad trade. I think there were some cases where I had bad control, and I think I could have had better engagements. But no harm, no foul. Played well enough to win the game. GG. All right, boys, we got the next game for you today. Got 2 Terran versus 2 Terran.
광물이 부족합니다. 광물이 부족합니다.
건설로봇 준비 완료. 네,
광물이 부족합니다.
네.
광물이 부족합니다. 광물이 부족합니다.
건설로봇 준비 완료.
I'm pretty sure that the opponents are playing at the advantage. I did play a game against my teammate earlier today, and he definitely wasn't that good.
광물이 부족합니다.
I know that
보급고가 부족합니다.
the username Helpa is decent, and of course, you know, barcode.
광물이 부족합니다.
Barcoding your
광물이
account.
부족합니다. 광물이 부족합니다.
건설로봇 준비.
There's actually a couple things that goes through my mind when I queue up against barcodes.
안 좋은 일인가요?
If I'm streaming, stream cheater. If I'm not, map hacker.
후방 지원. 건설로봇 준비 완료.
And then the third thing is
에이, 깜짝이야.
광물이 부족합니다.
good player.
안 좋은 일인가요?
광물이 부족합니다.
I have played against Helpa before in the past, and he has generally gone for Reapers. So, because they're 2 Terran, I'm not going to leave my base. I'm going to try to play the element of surprise because they haven't scouted. They should know my
광물이
races.
부족합니다.
So if I wait for 2 Reapers, I might be able to punish their first,
후방 지원.
like when they try to scout.
뭔일 있어요? 저승사자가 도착했다.
So I'll just wait for 2, and then you have to cross the map because if it's like a fast factory or something like that, you really want to start the
광물이
snowball.
부족합니다.
왜 하늘에서 죽음이 말해봐. 왜 뭐 필요한 거라도 있나? 저승사자가 도착했다.
That might use
베스핀가스가
is
부족합니다.
the benefit of playing random. So his second Reaper is at the same time as my Reaper.
저승사자가 도착했다.
베스핀 가스가 부족합니다.
Which means he's gone for 3 racks and I have a huge lead, so I'm gonna
베스핀
commit.
가스가
건설로봇 준비 완료. 말해.
광물이 부족합니다. 베스핀 가스가 부족합니다.
Oh my god! Wow!
동맹이 공격받고
Okay.
있습니다. 베스핀 가스가 부족합니다.
건설로봇 준비 완료.
Not sure what that's all about.
물 처리해줘. 사실
베스핀 가스가 부족합니다.
저승사자가 도착했다.
I should have had a really big lead there.
베스핀 가스가 부족합니다.
건설로봇 준비 완료.
베스핀 가스가 부족합니다.
저승사자가 도착했다.
베스핀 가스가 부족.
건설로봇 준비 완료. 뭔일? 사실
I'm gonna have to actually go into the replay to find out what exactly happened there.
저승사자가 도착했다. 건설로봇 준비 완료. 다시 말해봐.
베스핀 가스가 부족합니다.
건설로봇 준비 완료. 저승사자가 도착했다. 마음대로.
광물이 부족합니다.
You know, considering
베스핀 가스가 부족합니다.
건설로봇 준비 완료. 하늘에 저승사자가 도착했다.
베스핀 가스가
it's
부족합니다.
kind of weird how the right side Terran player decided to go for Marauder.
베스핀 가스가 부족합니다.
건설로봇 준비 완료.
Alright, this guy is dead for sure.
망했다. 저승사자가 도착했다. 저승사자가 도착했다. 나고 말 중요한 후방 지원 뭔 일이 안 좋은 일이 무슨 일이죠? 왜?
베스핀 가스가 부족합니다.
I want to make him, I was kind of hoping I could make him lift that, but I guess not.
건설로봇 준비 완료. 왜? 누굴? 네. 저승사자가 도착했다.
I think I'm actually going to watch the replay to find out whether the barcode player is hacking or not. It just seems kind of weird to me that he would open like that with a 3 racks.
누굴? 건설로봇 준비
베스핀 가스가 부족합니다.
하늘에서 죽음이 저승사자가
Let's just watch the replay real quick here. See if there's anything shady going on. 098 hotkeys. That means I'm pretty sure that means this guy is left-handed.
건설로봇 준비 완료.
I'm trying to think of like, I mean, okay, so my teammate picked Terran, and I'm Terran. So that means there's a 66% chance that going for Tech Lab Marauder here is actually good. So I understand the logic, now that I think about it a little more. But the issue is that if you go for this play, if I've gotten Zerg, this play is pretty bad because Marauders are not very good against Speedlings. But here's the thing. If you go Marauder with Reaper, it provides a lot of tank. It provides a lot of tank for his Reapers, and then his Reapers have DPS, right? So that's actually not too bad. Alright, so let me take a look at what the issue is here. So I have one Reaper. I actually just need to go back and look at like what his actual build was. Alright, so 15, 15, 16. Okay. So his open here, and the reason why I got a little blindsided was because he sacrificed his economy for a better, like a quicker Reaper open, right? That's essentially what he did here, because you can see he'll never build the orbital command. I mean, he probably will eventually, but not for like a long time. See that? So this actually blindsided me, and it's just not very often that you run into players who do this, because it doesn't really make a lot of sense to do it this way, because you want to balance both economy and Reapers. That's like the strength of this, and the point behind doing it this way is so that you give yourself an advantage, and the snowball starts earlier, but you're sacking this for an orbital command, right? That's the concept. So, like I said in game, I know that both of my opponents are Terran, right? What they don't know is that I'm Terran. They know that my teammate is Terran, but they don't know that I'm Terran. So this is why you see him do this with his Reaper. And it's not something you see very often when I'm actually live streaming, right? So I take out the first Reaper here, right? But then if we look, we can see that he already has a second Reaper here. My second Reaper is only just now coming out. He'll have these two Reapers at about the same time, but he will actually, if he didn't lose the first Reaper, he would have more, and then he could take good engagements and snowball, right? But he didn't know what the race was, so he had to make that play to scout. And there was a let's see, I'd say there was about a 30% chance that he'd actually be able to get the information, because both Terran and Protoss can kill the first Reaper upon entry to the base. But, you know, they didn't SCV scout, so they didn't really know what to expect, right? Now, this is where I got blindsided. You see, I jump up here, and because, I mean, you can see, look, I mean, my orbital, I've gone through one mule already, right? He hasn't even started his. So this is why this blindsided the hell out of me. I couldn't make any sense of this. So that's what happened, and that's why things got screwed up. Now, again, okay, so think about this scenario. Maybe he thinks that I've only gone for... Did he actually get the scout? Yeah, see, he never even got the scout of the barracks, right? So the only thing that he can assume is that I've gone for 1 Rax. And if I did go for 1 Rax, the chase right here would have continued, and he probably would have ended up killing the Reaper. But he didn't get the scout, so he doesn't know. But he really wants to snowball with this build because he sacrifices economy to do it. So it isn't as if he's making the wrong plays. It's just not panning out for him because I randomed into Terran and I did this build, right? And so this is the strength, one of the strengths of playing random. And so when I did that jump up, I about shit my pants because these timings that the Reapers are coming out, it's not normal, right? So let's just take a look at economy and see like how much better of a build mine actually is versus his. So he's got 12 workers here. Perhaps maybe if I was a little more diligent on SCV production, then it would look better than what it does right now. But you know, my mind really was, it was more in a state of what in the hell is going on? Why does he have so many more Reapers than I do? So if we look at the income tab, you can see the difference in his economy versus mine, right? He's got 16 workers, he has 12. And if you look at the difference here, so 22 is this guy. I have the mule, right? My mule is active right now. It just went down, I'm about to drop another one down. So my economy is huge compared to his, right? So you just have to weather the storm for this to pick up, right? So right there, I was in a winning situation, but then the Marauder showed up. But I still traded pretty well, right? So now he's down to 1 Reaper. I have 4 with more cooking, right? More workers, more economy. I've traded better. And so that's basically why we win the game. I gotta say, though, it is kind of strange to see Marauder Reaper. I guess maybe on Korea this is the meta? I have no idea. But it's kind of weird how it panned out this way. Alright, boys, that's going to be it for the video today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hit that thumbs up if you like it. Hit the thumbs down if you don't. Big shout out to Lambardia for the $5 tip. Really appreciate that, dude. And all of the other support that I have gotten so far since I've been making these videos. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Once again, in the description, there will be a straw poll to get a better idea of how to structure the videos. So far, let's actually, let's just take a look at the results real quick. Okay, so out of 31 votes, currently we are at 58% for 1 hour plus videos. I'm going to let that run for a couple days and just kind of, you know, make sure that I get a little bit better of an understanding of what you guys want. 31 votes is a lot, but it's I'd say more like 30 to 100 is what I really realistically need to have to just make sure I'm getting it right. But for now, we currently have 58% of the vote for 1 hour videos, 1 hour plus videos. And yeah, so thank you guys very much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the content. Have a good day.